George Jr. And in addition to 101.1 FM radio, you can also get us at our website. It's rcistlucia.com, where you can download our previous shows on that platform as well. And you can get us at our Facebook Live feed. Just search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International on Facebook. And of course, be sure to like and share that link as well with your friends and family. If you want to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046 is our mainline number. And as well, you have the option of messaging in on WhatsApp. That is 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. And of course, wish everybody celebrating their birthdays a happy birthday today. And you're in some good company. Antiguan West Indies cricket great. So Viv Richards, he turns 72 today. So happy birthday to him. In just a bit, we're going to be discussing investments, and we're discussing how to make some sensible investments, and we're going to be discussing that with the regional CIS manager of UTC Global. He's going to tell us all about that company and how they can in fact help you out to make some good choices financially. But first, a bit of history today. In the year 1530, English King Henry VIII's divorce request was denied by Pope Clement VII. In the year 1876, on this day, Alexander Graham Bell received a patent for the telephone in the United States. 1912, on this day, the Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen announced his team was the first to reach the South Pole 34 days before British explorer Robert Falcon Scott. 1936, on this day, German dictator Adolf Hitler broke the Treaty of Versailles by sending troops into the demilitarized Rhineland. And in 2009, on this day, despite being only 17 years old, Brazilian soccer star Neymar made his professional debut for Santos. We now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought with the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. If all kind of tiles come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Box, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses, Jugosile, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International for our dish of the day. Now, of course, quite often we do know that to survive, we've got to make some sensible investments, and people do that, potentially buying a house or maybe buying a car as an investment, although that might not be a very good one. Of course, making investments in the stock market. And there are lots of different options, and there are firms out there to assist in guiding that and providing advice, financial advice. And one of them certainly is UTC Global Balance Fund Limited. And to tell us all about that, I'm so pleased to have the regional CIS manager for UTC Global Balance Fund Limited right here in St. Lucia, Mr. Omar Birch-Smith. Omar, thank you for joining us here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International.
Thank you for having me, Calix, and I want to say good afternoon to your listeners and to the viewers on your Facebook platform. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you for joining us. Now, UTC Global Balance Fund, that's a bit of a mouthful.
Yes.
But perhaps we could start off with what is UTC? Maybe some of the Trinidadians out there may have a sense of that, but give us a sense.
Okay, so the Unit Trust Corporation, or UTC, is the largest provider of mutual funds in CARICOM, in the English-speaking Caribbean. Currently, 8 mutual funds under management, aggregating 3.7 billion US in funds under management, and 10 billion EC, or 10 billion EC rather, right? UTC was incorporated in 1982, so it's 42 years old this year. And Trinidadians have benefited over that period of time. There are 600,000 unit holders across Trinidad and Tobago, which represents almost every household in Trinidad. So in 2020, the corporation decided to expand. It was part of a strategic initiative, and they expanded into Jamaica as well as into the Eastern Caribbean. And that's how the UTC Global Balance Fund, or GBFL, was born, right? So GBFL, which is the mutual fund that exists in the OECS region, headquartered here in St. Lucia, would have gone live to the public, Alex, on November 27th, 2023. And it really aims to provide citizens of St. Lucia as well as citizens of the OECS with an opportunity to make financial investments that they didn't previously have access to. So it's really a mutual fund. It was the first of its kind in St. Lucia when it launched. Mutual funds have been around for a while, but they're pretty new to our region, and they're known globally as a safe and fairly easy way for the ordinary man on the street to really get into the markets that they wouldn't have had access to previously.
Now, some people may know of, the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange. They may have heard of, they look at the financial news coming out of the United States, and you have an idea of the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ, and they're seeing these figures, and they're hearing about purchasing of stocks and bonds.
Correct.
And of course, it seems so distant, somewhat alien to the average person. And now you're talking about a mutual fund, which is, again, another aspect here. What is that? What is a mutual fund?
So that's an excellent question, Calix. And simply put, a mutual fund is really a financial vehicle that pools the funds and resources of many individuals and institutions and makes those investments in international stock and bond markets on their behalf, right? So as you rightfully said, you, Calix, may want to buy shares in Apple. Someone in your family or one of your friends may want to buy shares in Google. Someone else working at RCI may want to buy some U.S. Treasuries because, like you said, they listen to the news and they've heard that interest rates are at record highs, right? Individually, you may not be able to obtain these stocks or go about making the correct selection or doing the requisite research or the requisite analysis. But through a mutual fund, you simply buy shares in the mutual fund like GBFL, and the fund invests those shares on your behalf. We are a balanced fund. There are several types of mutual funds. You have money market funds, which invest in short-term assets. You have equity funds, which tend to be a lot more aggressive. Those are also known as growth funds. But with those, you have some risks, some elevated levels of risk, because as the old adage says, the higher the return, the higher the risk, right? And then you have income funds, which provide a steady flow of income. We're a balanced fund, a combination of the two. And we invest in stocks and bonds as well as some money market instruments. So our growth is achieved through our investments in equities or stocks, and our income, which balances out the risk, is achieved through our fixed income. So it really provides investors the opportunity to get that exposure to the market and benefit from those returns. And I just want to be clear that the mutual fund, you buy shares in the mutual fund, and everybody benefits equally, right? Yeah. So that's really what it is. Really a simplified method to gain access to the market. One of our mandates is to democratize investing, right? That's a fancy word, but what it really means is to really allow every man on the street, every man and woman on the street to be able to invest.
What are some of the benefits of actually going the route of a mutual fund,
right?
As opposed to maybe dabbling in a stock exchange here or there in Jamaica, in the Eastern Caribbean?
Correct. So again, that's a pretty good question. So you have many exchanges regionally as well as internationally. And you also have a number of individuals out there, Calix, teachers, nurses, firemen, policemen, bankers, lawyers, plumbers, you name it, right? Everybody has similar type goals. They want to be able to have some financial stability. They want to be able to leave something for their family, They want to grow their wealth. And our goals don't differ, but the time that we have or the expertise and the skills we have, that's where you may find some difference. So the first benefit, I would say, is really that professional management, right? Like you said, you may have some funds, you may want to start planning for retirement, you may want to start planning for that home, but you kind of lost as to how to go about it, right? So a mutual fund really provides that professional management that goes about doing those analyses and making those selections for you. Secondly, affordability, right? So you mentioned the ECSC a while ago, which is our own local or sub-regional exchange. Typically, to invest, you need a minimum of about $5,000, right? So now that mutual funds have come into the market, you'd be surprised to know that the minimum investment in GBFL is really US $100, right? And subsequent purchase of shares are a minimum of $20 thereafter, right? Another benefit is the flexibility that it affords, because you can buy at any time. You could set up a regular schedule at the end of the month through a standing order or a salary deduction, or you could purchase once. You could purchase every day. You could purchase once a week. You could purchase shares once and never turn back, right? You could also sell as well. So it's very flexible, very affordable, and professional management. These are the benefits, I would say, to investing in mutual funds.
So that's really powerful, because you're saying you can come in with a minimum of $100
Yes.
as opposed to the 5,000 EC you would require to participate
That
in
exists, yeah,
the,
on average.
currently on average
On average,
in
yeah.
in the regional
Yeah, I mean, obviously
exchange.
in our region now, I mean, if you were to buy shares, if you wanted to buy, say, shares in one of the traded companies like a Lucid, those would be way less than the 5,000, but those don't trade very often, right?
Right.
So, and that's typically one of the challenges we've had with
Getting
our
into the market,
exchange.
right.
Correct. It's very liquid, right? You have to find a willing seller versus international markets that remain liquid. You can buy and sell at any time.
Now that's really interesting, because I mean, I just had a quick look, and I'm seeing the Apple share price at about $169
Yes.
US
Right.
trading right now. I may have $100 to actually put in
Yeah.
and invest. I can't buy an Apple share, but I could get a share of that Apple.
You could
share.
get a share of that Apple share. Correct. Yes.
Through a mutual
Through a
fund.
mutual fund. And I'm happy you said that, because GBFL actually has shares in Apple at present. Yeah. So,
And that's actually a really important point. So where do you invest? How do you invest? How do you go about that mix of deciding where to put the funds?
right. So, I mean, primarily our investments are in international markets, right? Like I said, we're a balanced fund. So what does that mean? If we had a pie and the pie was split up, say the total of the pie, was 100%. We're currently about 65% in stocks or equities and about 35% in fixed income, right? So what do some of these stocks include? Apple, as you mentioned, large companies like Nvidia, Microsoft, Facebook, Meta, Costco, MasterCard, you name it, right? A number of stocks. Household names, things that solutions when they travel or when they sit down online and order stuff.
And they're buying those things. They're
those
using
things.
these things,
Correct.
like Google.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And you find these companies are profiting, and now you can profit through the dividends that these companies pay, as well as the capital appreciation or the increase in the price. On the fixed income side, we do invest quite a bit in U.S. Treasuries, as well as corporate bonds and fixed income ETFs. We also have some exposure to the government of St. Lucia as well. So we're supporting our local economies as well by investing in the bonds of the local governments. So there's a wide array of assets in the portfolio, Calix, and what that does is it provides diversification. Now that's one of the things I forgot to mention when I was talking about the benefits. Diversification is very important. Remember, our parents used to tell us, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Right. So what that means is you'd invest in a wide pool of assets. You create that diversity, and that diversification, it really reduces the risk, right? It's not likely that a large pool of assets would all fall in price or value at the same time. So that's why mutual funds are typically good methods of achieving that medium to long-term growth. It's not aggressive growth. It's really a medium to long-term product. We typically advise that you want to stay in for about 3 to 5 years. And the typical trend is this, right? You may have days where it falls, but typically it's an upward trend. And that's been the history of mutual funds, not only regionally, but globally from the time they've been around.
Now, of course, the importance of investing is that the value of what you have is growing faster than the rate of inflation.
Yep.
And of course, probably more than what you're making in the bank. So just give us a sense. I mean, right now, your typical savings rate in a bank might be X amount. Inflation is whatever it is right now. What are we talking about from a mutual fund in terms of
so
returns?
that's really that's an excellent point, right? And a lot of people would have fallen victim to inflation. Here in St. Lucia, we suffer from imported inflation, unfortunately. And our minimum savings rate, as stipulated by the ECCB, is about 2%, right? You may get slightly more on a fixed deposit, or you may get more if you have certain credit union accounts, but on average, it's 2%. But in 2022 and 2023, we saw inflation of about 8 to 12% in our region. So what that meant was, by keeping your money in the bank, you were actually losing money, right? So in times of high inflation like now, just leaving your money in a regular savings account, while it may be safe, it's actually losing value, or it's not a good store of wealth, right? A mutual fund, and I am not permitted to say what our returns will be. I can say that we value our fund every day. It's on our website for you to see, and it has been growing steadily since we went live to the public on November 27th. But typically, if you want to keep that store of wealth, to your point, Alex, if you want to maintain the value of what you hold, you want to look at investments as opposed to simply saving.
Right.
So our mutual fund is valued every day. It's really, what we do is we calculate the NAV, right? The NAV, or the net asset value, which typically you look at your assets, you minus any liabilities, and that's how you determine what your NAV is. And as I said, our NAV is calculated every day and it's published on our website. So investors who invest every day, you know what the value of your investment is. I always advise clients, don't look at it every day, right? Remember, it's a medium to long-term proposition. So you may want to keep tabs on it. If you want to look at it every day, that's fine. That's up to you. But if it is that you need it for whatever reason, then it's on our website.
But of course, you are investing in these types of shares, especially in the U.S. markets. And from what I recall, there's a figure, I think, was it 11%? The market has been growing at a steady rate of about 11% per annum for over the past how many decades now?
Yeah, for the last 4 decades, the S&P gives about between 12 and 15%. Yeah,
even more than that, right? Yeah. So generally, this is where
you find because
where you're putting your bulk of your investment in those.
Now,
areas.
After 1 year, we can say, well, for our first year we did X. Because it's a new fund, our regulator doesn't allow us to make forward-looking statements. But as you've rightfully said, it won't be too far off than what the S&P gives you. And our funds are actively managed, which means we do try to beat our benchmarks by applying very, very, very important strategies.
Now, you did mention, of course, that individuals have to invest. It's a medium to long-term investment. So if I'm putting in this money today, do I have to hold it for a certain period of time?
You could put in today and sell tomorrow, right? It's liquid. My advice, it's of no benefit to you to do that, right? You want to see your funds grow over time. But if it is you did have an emergency and you needed those funds, you can liquidate and get those funds in short order.
So this is a benefit.
There's no minimum piece here.
So this is a benefit as compared to perhaps real estate, where it takes a long time maybe to sell.
And you don't need to sell to another investor. You sell it back to the fund.
I see.
So you come in and you fill out a redemption form, and your proceeds are wired to you thereafter.
Now, again, this whole idea about investment, for some people it sounds scary, and they may have heard of horror stories, somebody putting $1 million into the stock market and they lost everything, or the value of shares went down. What are the risks that we're talking about going the route of GBFL?
GBFL, yeah. So, Calix, GBFL, like all other financial investments, do carry a certain level of risk. Our team at UTC, we do prioritize risk management. Investments are only made in accordance with our approved IPS. Additionally, our investment team, which consists of about 25 individuals, we conduct robust research, technical and fundamental analysis to ensure that we're ahead of the curve, right? So that you're not blindsided by any sudden shifts in the market or any sudden trend. All decisions are made based on very sound analyses as well as market trends. So that diversification I spoke about is our primary risk mitigation tool. That's achieved by investing in a mutual fund, but we also very actively manage the fund. So, there are several risks, but that's our primary job, right? We ensure that there's minimal fluctuation in the capital and risk. We probably do that more than we look at returns, right? Because the returns are there, but we have to ensure that the funds of our investors are managed adequately.
And I suppose the beauty of this is, as you said, the entry point is pretty low.
Yes.
So somebody who may just want to try it out, so to speak, see how it works for a year, can then decide to ramp up.
I mean, yeah, that's one option, but I would say, given our history, our 42-year history of delivering to the people of Trinidad, I would say that yes, you can't bank on us to deliver, but I do understand that in our region, we have been burnt in the past, and it's something that we are mindful of. Our regulator is also someone who's mindful of that, and GBFL is a regulated product. It's regulated by the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, or the ECSRC. They regulate all securities business in St. Lucia, as well as the OECS, right? In addition to our regulators, the legislation in the OECS and St. Lucia requires that all the assets of a mutual fund be held by a custodian, right? So even if you went tomorrow, Calix, and you bought shares, that money isn't sent to GBFL. That money is sent to the custodian, right? The custodian holds all the cash. They hold all the assets in segregated depository accounts. And when we need to invest, they allow us to invest. They provide the cash to settle investments, right? The ECCSD is the Eastern Caribbean Central Securities Depository. Both of these institutions are located in St. Kitts on the same campus of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. But just to be clear, the ECCB isn't our regulator. And our registrar, who maintains the register of shareholders, that's also the ECCSD. So if it is that you purchase 5 shares or 500 shares, an independent registrar maintains that record so that you don't come into GBFL and we say, no, you don't have 5 shares, you actually have 3. No, it's managed by an independent
So we've seen
register.
some horror stories in Jamaica and other places around the world.
Yeah.
There are safeguards.
There are many safeguards here.
safeguards.
Yeah, our regulators are very, very cautious, very protective of the market, as they should be. And they are mindful of some of the incidents that have taken place throughout the wider region, and are very careful and are very protective of our market.
Well, this is really wonderful, certainly. I mean, an opportunity more than anything else for solutions to actually access a lot of what they're seeing on a daily basis on international news. But fundamentally, why is it important that I should not keep that money in the bank, that I should, I'm not saying people shouldn't save, but that they should make that investment?
Yeah, I mean, people need to save. Some say before you invest, you need to save, right? And to be clear, I'm not saying don't save. The St. Lucia and the OECS, we have a very rich history of savings, evidenced by our $25 billion in excess liquidity in the banking system. St. Lucia is $5 billion alone, right? But most economists will tell you that the OECS is actually oversaved, right? We actually need to get a lot of that capital more productive at this point in time. As I discussed earlier, simply saving is not a good store of value, right? It's a good way to protect funds that you have for a rainy day, but in terms of growing those funds to meet your goals, because we're no different, we're all the same. We all have financial goals, right? Some of us have children, we need to plan for their education. Some of us are approaching retirement very quickly. We may want to do an expansion on our homes, put that little apartment in so that we get some rental as we head into retirement. Or we may just want to grow our wealth, right? The best way to do that is through investments. The compound growth that you achieve through investments, financial investments, to be precise, it's a little more than savings. Our governor, central bank governor, he always quotes or he always references the statistics. 2 out of 5 people in the U.S. are invested in the stock market. In our region, it's 1 out of 25, right? And unfortunately, the stigma surrounding investments is that it's a bourgeois thing or a rich people thing. And with the introduction of this product, it really brings it to the everyday man. So when you see your investment grow over time, you can say, oh, wow, I'm glad I made this investment. And you just need to do a little bit over time, and it will grow and it will accumulate. So it's really an excellent opportunity to transcend savings, diversify your portfolios, and continue to really build that wealth and prepare for those financial goals that you may have, whatever they are.
That's a startling statistic comparison there. 4% in the Caribbean versus 40%
Correct.
in the United States.
In the United States, yeah.
And of course, the tradition of many of these countries, I think back to the very early days of these companies, the Dutch West East India Company, I think one of the earliest investment companies. That tradition of investing is really important for the creation of wealth.
It really is, yeah. That's the one surefire way.
It has been certainly quite wonderful hearing about UTC Global Balanced Fund Limited. They've just launched just a couple months ago, right here in St. Lucia, but of course with a very long-standing 40 years of doing business over in Trinidad. And some very happy customers over there, hopefully some very many happy customers in St. Lucia.
Yeah, certainly.
Any parting words from you?
Yeah, I just invite people to visit our website, utcgbfl.com, where you can view our prospectus as well as the fact sheet to get more details on the fund and how to go about purchasing. Also invite people to visit our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn as well, where they can view our financial fitness series. So one of our mandates, or one of our other mandates, apart from democratizing investments, is actually to spread financial literacy, right? So we actually have a 21-part financial fitness video series that individuals can view on our website as well as our social media pages, which sort of breaks everything down into the simplest of terms. What is savings? What are investments? How do you calculate your net worth? What is a mutual fund? So it's really our understanding that we need to promote and spread financial literacy, not just in St. Lucia, but throughout the OECS. So I'd like to thank you for having me, Alex.
It's been wonderful, and thank you so very much, Mr. Omar Birchsmith. He is the Regional CIS Manager for UTC Global Balance Fund Limited, the mutual fund that has just been launched right here in St. Lucia for the Eastern Caribbean. And no doubt there'll be lots of opportunities again to hear from UTC Global Balance Fund Limited. Thanks very much. And that has been our dish of the day. When we come back, we're going to be trying to touch base on some upcoming activities for International Women's Day.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. With all kind of tiles, come down to Tiles Plus. We also got glassware and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down, don't mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Grozile, and Slack Street in Dufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Island style, we got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, we'll have to make the right choice. Island style, we got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah, we make your dream come alive. In Island style,
we have tiles and thin sets, mixes and ground. Everything you need is on the house out. For the best price and the latest style, take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Castries, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewport Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And that's of course to the 1.1. It's now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Tile and Bath. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from between the east, southeast, and east near 20 miles per hour or 31 kilometers per hour. The weather generally fair skies today with an increasing cloudiness, with some scattered showers is expected from tonight into tomorrow. The forecast for the Les Antilles, over the Windward Islands and areas further south, fair to partly cloudy skies with a few scattered showers is expected today. An increase in cloudiness with showers is expected from tonight into tomorrow. Elsewhere, fair to partly skies. Well, that should be fair to partly cloudy skies with isolated showers. And the weather summary, the Atlantic high pressure system will continue to generate moderate easterly winds across the Eastern Caribbean region during the next few days. Weak unstable conditions will cause some scattered showers over the Windward Islands and areas further south from tonight into tomorrow. Relatively dry and stable conditions will prevail over the remainder of the Lesser Antilles during the forecast period. And this was your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bath.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island style. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, we'll have to make the right choice. Island style. Whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style. Oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have tiles and things, sets, pieces and ground. Everything you need to sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Crompton Highway, Castry, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. We were just speaking with Mr. Omar Birchsmith, the Regional CIS Manager for UTC Global Balance Fund Limited. It's one of the mutual funds that has recently been launched here in St. Lucia, giving the average St. Lucian an opportunity to actually make the kind of investments that we may not normally be able to do in terms of accessing international stock exchanges. And of course they're doing a mix of regional and international investments. So certainly we're going to be hearing much more about these opportunities soon enough. Now it is also International Women's Day tomorrow, March the 8th, and there are a number of activities that are being put on to celebrate International Women's Day by various entities that are participating, civil society groups, companies supporting that entire thrust. I know there's a big plug out, I think, to Maurice. They're going to be putting on a very special event on Friday, I believe, talking about the power of women. And there's also an upcoming event which is being put on by Celestial, and they are going to be putting on their global mentoring walk. They've been hosting that for a couple of years now, and that's happening on Saturday. And I believe we're going to be speaking with Mrs. Tekla de Turville, so that we can get her online. She is going to be telling us about that in just a bit, about this upcoming global mentoring walk, which is being put on by Celestial SDC. Celestial is an institution that has been doing quite a bit of work in terms of women's empowerment. And I believe we do have Mrs. Tekla de Turville on air with us. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. And of course, we are here at Radio Caribbean International's lunchroom, and we're hoping to hear quite a bit about the upcoming walk which is being planned by Celestial SDC. Tell us about that, coming up this Saturday.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Celestial Self-Development Center, over the past, from 2014, we have been hosting the Global Mentoring Walk, and that is under the auspices of Vital Voices, which is a US-based organization, that caters to the development of women worldwide. International Women's Day is really on the 8th, and but we are holding the mentoring walk on the 9th. Because it's like we said, it's global. This year, we expecting over 100 countries to be participating in that walk, and some countries may have had it from the second. Some would have actually do it, tomorrow, and then we would be honoring that day on the 9th. Um, Again, my connection with Vital Voices has been, it happened in 2013 when I attended a Vital Voices leadership development training for women, and that session was held in Nicaragua. And since then, we got a request to be what we would call flag bearers. This year's theme for International Women's Day is inspiring inclusion. But there's also some other groupings have been using invest in women, accelerate progress. Um, the objective has really been to bring together women leaders, current women leaders, to meet and to dialogue with aspiring women leaders. So it's not, like I've said before, it's not a race. It's a walk in pairs within the community, where people can discuss. Young persons, for instance, if they interested in politics, they might want to speak to somebody who is a political figure. If they're interested in engineering, there might be an engineer as a mentor who they can dialogue with, ask the questions, the burning questions that have been affecting them. Just having general conversation in terms of whatever they aspire to be. What are some of the pitfalls they can look at? What are some of the avenues they can pursue? So it's really that kind of conversation, very developmental, and we just walk through, and that conversation takes place between the mentor and the mentee.
So it's very interesting. So the walk itself is actually a mentorship session, almost.
Yes, it is. That's what it is. So it's mentorship on the move, kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So you walk and you have that conversation. Over the years we know many meaningful mentorship relationships have been built between mentor and mentee because of the walk. We've never formalized it in terms of to say, well, hey, this is who is mentoring, but we have left it to the mentor and the mentee to make their own arrangements as they see fit, as they based on what they're able to offer, either as a mentor or as a mentee.
Wonderful. Now, give us some details. I mean, in terms of how does one get involved? How do you sign up? How do you register? And
okay. We have a link, a registration link on the Celestial Self Development Facebook page, where people can register. It's also on LinkedIn and Instagram. And so the link is there, and anybody who would be interested in serving either as a mentor, a mentee, or a volunteer can go and sign up. And so the starting point is the Celestial Self-Development Car Park, which is opposite the Anglican Primary School, which is corner of Chaussee and Le Pensée. There's this parking lot there, and we start there. The walk, and I want to emphasize, it's not a race, it's really a walk, at people's leisure, at their pace, at their rate. And that walk goes up Chaussee, northward, along Calvary, down into Lance Road, up to its junction with the John Compton Highway, turning left by the Jean-Marie's gas station, then another left turn along the complex and the fisheries along there, across the Sassusi Bridge, in front of government buildings, onto Jabati Street, right turn into Lower Darling Road, then left up Trinity Church Road, across the Chaussee, and back to the starting point. And we should have, at the beginning, we would have some some leaders, some female leaders, make some, short deliveries, would make some short presentations, and we also at the end we also would ask either a mentor and a mentee to give us an idea of what the experiences was like, or maybe persons who have done it in the past and they may have a story to tell. We would have that. We will be distributing T-shirts because we had some sponsors for that. So T-shirts will be distributed, and among our sponsors we have First National Bank, St. Lucia Tourism Authority, St. Lucia Electricity Services, St. Lucia Distillers Group of Companies, Blue Waters, Castries Constituency Council, and the Global Migration and Investment Services. So we will be distributing water along the way. There will be at registration. There will be T-shirts distributed, and on the return, people will be given a snack. But we're looking forward to as many people as possible joining us on that walk. And like I said, it's a way of really giving back, so people can share their experiences, because sometimes you have persons who are interested in mentoring others, but they may not get the opportunity, again, based on maybe what their own commitments are. But I think it's an opportunity to really make it happen. So it's not something for the future. It can have a life of its own. It can develop further, but that will depend solely on the two people involved.
Right. And of course, as you are speaking about the matter of having a life of its own, this is an event that has been going on since, I think, 2014?
Since 2014. So we've done it both physical. We've actually had the walk, but even during COVID, we went virtual.
Right.
And so for 2 years, 21 and 22, we actually had it virtual. Say, well, how could you have a walk virtual? So the focus was really on having a number of speakers, giving people an opportunity to go into whatever rooms they wanted based on the topic they would have been interested in. So it was really entertaining. And I think the people who attended the virtual, I guess initially there would have been a bit of curiosity, hey, what would that look like? But it was the virtual sessions were quite successful.
Wonderful.
And so I guess we've gone back to doing it physically this year.
Indeed. And of course, the mere fact that you're doing physically, you probably will be seeing people along the way who may be interested in what's going on. And that outreach is certainly very important. That's exactly what you want to be able to achieve, reaching out to more young women.
Absolutely. There've been some years where we've had lots of mentors, but it's always we want to really get some mentees as well, so that people can very young people, aspiring leaders, women who really have some hard questions, and maybe they may not have the opportunity to get those questions answered. That would be a great opportunity to do so.
And just again, it's happening this coming Saturday from 2
Saturday.
o'clock?
The start time is 2, and the meeting point is the Celestial Car Park opposite the Anglican Primary School, and we expect to go between 2 and 5. There are lots of activities on the weekend, so we've mapped out that slot there between 2 and 5, so people can come out and join us. And sometimes if persons have difficulty with the registration, they can still show up,
Right. So you can register at the location, and of course you're also targeting young and mature mentees and
absolutely.
mentors.
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful.
Definitely.
And of course, the importance of mentorship, Mrs. Dieterville. Why the need to have mentors for women at this point?
It gives us an opportunity to learn, from each other, to learn maybe from other people's mistakes. Because the fact that somebody is a mentor doesn't mean that life has been easy for them. They would have had their challenges, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to make the same as young people growing up, or we have to make the same mistakes. And we can learn from other people's mistakes, and so that would sort of shorten that learning curve for us,
right,
in terms of what we can do, what's acceptable, what is the best route to follow. and with mentorship, what happens is that sometimes mentors ask lots of questions to the mentees. So a mentor may not necessarily be telling people what to do, but they may, by phrasing a question properly, it gives the mentee an opportunity to think for themselves. This is the path this is what I want to do. What have I done? What could I have done better? And they could ask them, hey, what was your experience? If you did this, how did you choose, to do that? What were some of the key things that, you thought were necessary? So it's really an opportunity not for somebody to tell you what to do, how to live your life. It's really an opportunity to ask questions and to get your questions answered based on the experience of the mentor.
Thank you so very much for that. And of course, it's happening this coming Saturday. It is being put on by Celestial Self-Development Center. It is a Vocal Voices, the
Vital. It's Vital Voices, which is an organization that deals with leadership among women, trying to generate this, the equity that we've been talking about, ad infinitum, to ensure that there's equal opportunity for women, as well as men. But so it's really about getting those questions answered and having a meaningful conversation, so that it would turn out to be beneficial to both the mentor and the mentee.
Wonderful. And I think we can say that young women will tend to be more willing to go out and ask for help and ask for assistance, perhaps more than the men. So we do hope that some of the young women out there who are listening, who may want some advice, who may want some guidance, they may be thinking about their careers and their futures. It's an opportunity for them to come out and get some interaction with the mentors who are coming out for this mentorship walk, happening this coming Saturday from 2 to 5 in the city of Castries, starting off at the car park just opposite the Anglican school, and coming back within that period of time, within that three-hour period, back into the city of Castries. And we've been speaking with Mrs. Tekla de Turville. She is the founder of Celestial Self-Development Center, and the brainchild behind this initiative, being into a number of years now. One can say almost its 10th year, given that it started back in 2014.
Yeah, but we skipped a couple of years, but we started in 2014.
Indeed. Any parting words from you?
Well, we just want to invite as many people as possible to join us. It's really, it's something that we think there's value in it. It's Celestial's way of giving back to this community. So we really, would appreciate as many people as possible to join us as we celebrate International Women's Day 2024. Wonderful. Under the theme, Inspiring Inclusion.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much, Mrs. Tekla de Turville, the head and founder of Celestial Self-Development Center, an institution playing their part in terms of women's empowerment here in St. Lucia. And of course, as we mentioned, that is coming up this coming Saturday. And we do hope that that's March the 9th from 2 o'clock to 5 p.m., that walk, mentorship walk. Now, we're supposed to also had a guest in studio to tell us about another event happening later on that evening. It's being put on by Raise Your Voice St. Lucia. We haven't seen them yet, but I will tell you a little bit about what that is. It's actually an International Women's Fundraising Ball, and it is being put on by Raise Your Voice. It's on at the Pavilion at Rodney Bay in Grosley, and it's happening from 7:30 in the evening that same Saturday. And the proceeds of that event are going to go towards sustaining programs and services being put on by Raise Your Voice across St. Lucia. And tickets are in fact available online You can check them out at fourcirclestickets.com. You can just search for that event. It's called the Glitter Gold International Women's Day Fundraising Ball. And if you want some further information as well, you can also contact Mrs. Petra Nelson at 485-3088. Again, 485-3088. That's Mrs. Petra Nelson, as well as Miss Alberta Richelieu. And that number is 484-4417. Again, 484-4417. If you are interested in that Glitter and Gold International Women's Day fundraising ball being put on by Raise Your Voice St. Lucia. Of course, that's a non-profit organization here in St. Lucia that dedicates its efforts and advocacy towards supporting services for women, and of course a number of interventions that they do for children as well, persons who are victims and survivors of domestic violence. We know that they've been doing quite a lot of advocacy with respect to that, and of course other forms of injustice. And it is, of course, within that context of International Women's Day, which is we are celebrating tomorrow here in St. Lucia, and of course all around the world. And so that, of course, is just a very quick plug for them, although we haven't actually seen the individual who's supposed to come in to discuss that matter. So, of course, just in addition to those aspects of what we've been speaking about, I just wanted to touch on a few other very interesting things in the news, one of which is a peculiar one, and that is to deal again with the matter of the Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly here in St. Lucia. And we know that there's been a long history about that aspect. The former administration was accused of, in fact, running the House of Assembly, the Parliament of St. Lucia, unconstitutionally for nearly 5 years, on the basis that there was, in fact, no deputy speaker for that almost the entire period of the House existing. Now it seems that the former Prime Minister and now Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Alan Chastanet, is suggesting that choosing a deputy speaker from outside the House is unconstitutional. Now, you would recall that there was, in fact, I think, an amendment to the Constitution that was made sometime last year, I believe it was. Yes, it was Act number 7 of 2023, which I believe dealt with this matter of electing a deputy speaker from outside of the elected members of the House. Now, you would recall that in the case of previously, our Constitution provided for the Speaker of the House to be, in fact, elected from outside the membership of the House. The requirement was that the Deputy Speaker had to be a member of the elected member of the House previously. And there was, in fact, that constitutional amendment which addressed this matter of actually allowing for somebody from outside of the House as well to become the Deputy Speaker. Now, in a lot of other countries, whether it's the United States of America or the United Kingdom, in the Congress, in the Commons, the speakers and the deputy speakers are elected members. But of course, they have very large membership bases. I mean, you're talking about over 600 members in the Commons, in the House, in the Congress. It's over 400. So you have a large pool of individuals within which to choose. Not so very much the case in here in St. Lucia. And so there was always that provision in the case of the speaker to actually bring that individual from the outside in. And the same is being done in the instance right now with the deputy speaker also being brought in from the outside. And so it's a little interesting that the leader of the opposition is raising this matter at this time. And from what he is saying, he had written to the Attorney General sometime, I think last week, Friday. But of course has also released this, made public this letter to the public on this matter regarding Mr. Jeremiah Norbert. Now, it's also very interesting, of course, because there was that whole furor regarding the matter of the deputy speaker being a required position of the House. So here you have a situation where when he was Prime Minister, there was only a deputy speaker for the first sitting of the House. And one can say, so for the other 5 years, pretty much, and 1 month, there was not a deputy speaker within the Parliament of St. Lucia, even though the Constitution of St. Lucia requires and establishes the position of deputy speaker. His argument somehow is that, he only needed to fill the position for the period of that first meeting. Now, it's very bizarre logic that the Constitution would establish a position which would only be needed for the first meeting of the Parliament. Even though the life of the Parliament is 5 years, they only really needed that position for the first sitting. Now, I mean, that's the whole logic and spirit of the Constitution clearly was thrown out the door when you're looking at what was being suggested there, because you would not have created a position only for one meeting. That is completely illogical and certainly could never have been the intent of the Constitution, and certainly was not the intent of the Constitution of St. Lucia. And in fact, what was used as a means of arguing this position was to say that the clause where it says as soon as convenient, when the Parliament meets as soon as convenient. In other words, the Parliament at the next sitting, or the Parliament, if the position was vacant, they would not necessarily have to have a special meeting so that the position was filled. But once there was the convenience of having a meeting of Parliament, clearly it would become convenient to elect a deputy speaker, because in fact the agenda, the order of the business of Parliament is very clearly spelled out. And one of the things that has to happen as a first order of business in any meeting is the election of a speaker or a deputy speaker, if those vacancies exist. So, mind you, of course, this matter went on for 5 years when there was, in fact, no deputy speaker. But now, here you have a situation where there's a change in the Constitution to, in fact, allow for a deputy speaker to be elected from outside. And he has decided that should be challenged. So one then needs to wonder, is his remedy for what is existing right now in terms of a vacancy, if we were to use his logic, well then, the government need not even elect a deputy speaker. That position could remain open up until the next opening of Parliament in the next session, the next parliamentary session. I mean, not even a session, but the next Parliament of St. Lucia after general election. That's the logic that, if we were to use the logic of the leader of the opposition, is what the government could potentially do. But of course, we can well appreciate that this could never have been the intent of the Constitution, and certainly having a constitutional amendment to provide for this has been used as a remedy to permit a deputy speaker to be elected from outside of the elected membership, and to formalize something that is reasonable to ensure that Parliament can operate. And we've heard it being said by speakers of the past that a deputy is essential. You need to have a deputy in the event that your speaker cannot perform the duties on the day or within a certain amount of time. Parliament need not stop because the speaker may have to take a bathroom break or may fall ill. And we've seen these things happen. Just in the last Parliament of St. Lucia, we saw exactly that happening with the absence, the vacancy of that deputy speaker position. So the business of Parliament is the business of the people. It's serious business, and it should be able to operate without these minor issues disturbing it. And so it is essential that there is a deputy speaker provided for, as has been the case within our constitution, as is the case across most constitutions around the world, and where you have such parliamentary systems. And let's hope that this matter is dispensed with accordingly, because it's rather strange that Mr. Shastney is bringing up this matter, given his track record on the whole deputy speaker debacle of the 2016 to 2021 period. Also, of course, there was the announcement of a newly constituted Constitutional Reform Committee, or Constitutional Review Committee, as established by the Parliament, a decision of Parliament, with membership coming from both the government as well as the opposition side. The intent there is that committee reviews the findings and recommendations of the commission report, which was led by Justice Susie Dovey of blessed memory, and to come up with some amendments that can be brought forward to improve on our constitution and to improve on the system of government that we have. No doubt this matter may very well be one of the issues that would have to be discussed, I guess, further, if at all, by that committee, which of course we can discuss perhaps at another time, because we're out of time here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. We do hope that you enjoyed the program, and we're back again tomorrow, God willing, for another show here at Radio Caribbean International. I'm your host, Calix George Jr., saying goodbye.